Of Saturday's rally in London. Kamel Hawwash is the chair of the UK-based Palestine Solidarity Campaign. And I just wonder, can you explain the sort of atmosphere within which this demonstration or rally in support of the Palestinian people was held?
Yes, I mean, this is, as you said, this was the third demonstration. The numbers have been getting larger rather than smaller. The call is for a free Palestine. It is an expression of solidarity with the Palestinian people. People have been watching the pictures on Al Jazeera, on CNN, and other channels coming out of Gaza, and they've been completely horrified by the terror that Israel is heaping on the Palestinian people, on the civilians. They call this a war between Israel and Hamas, but it's clearly a war between Israel and the Palestinian people. And that is what is bringing people onto the street to say, first of all, that they stand with the Palestinian people, that they find the position of the British government shameful, and they want a ceasefire now. Unless there is a ceasefire, people will continue to die. And therefore, that is what Rishi Sunak here in the UK is supporting, the death of more people on both sides. Because let's be clear, Israel is bombing Gaza, and there are rockets flying out of Gaza that could injure Israelis. So he is, in this case, he thinks he's supporting Israel's right to self-defense. But the best way of ending the killing, the pictures we are seeing on our television screens, is to say, no, we must insist on a ceasefire, and aid must go in huge amounts, not in 5 or 10 trucks when they used to get, 600 trucks a day.
Let's talk about where we are at, because there was a non-binding vote. It's a sort of moral vote in the UN General Assembly on Friday, which the UK supported. That was for a sustained, immediate, durable ceasefire or humanitarian pause, at least. And there is an opportunity on Monday at the UN Security Council, and Britain, of course, is a permanent member of that Security Council, for a resolution, text of which I have seen, which at least in principle is calling for a humanitarian pause immediately, and then for humanitarian pauses going forward. That, at least to your mind, would it be a step in the right direction?
Well, first of all, I think the UK abstained, but I genuinely have forgotten. I think they abstained rather than supported. But at the end of the day, the UK, yes, is in the Security Council, but Israel used its veto. And I mean that the Americans are the people who put their hands up to support Israel's veto. That is the place where the whole world should have taken responsibility for what it's happened, for stopping the killing. And it is there and under Chapter 7 that they should have said, no more killings, we must have a ceasefire. We are more than 3 weeks now since the really unfortunate events of the 7th of October happened, and the focus should now be on saving lives. It is clear from the numbers we hear, approaching 10,000 Palestinians, and we had 1,400 or so Israelis killed, that the numbers are likely to keep escalating because there are still people under the rubble, and the only way that we can support the Palestinians and the Israelis now, for people who feel, what do we do? Because that's the question, is to say, yes, there was a lead from the General Assembly, but it doesn't have any powers, and therefore it is for governments to say, no, we must insist on a ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire, because that is the only way we will save the children, we will save women, and we will make sure that people begin to pick up the pieces. Because as I'm sure, Becky, you've seen, we have to ask, where will people return to when there's a ceasefire? For many, there are no homes to return to because Israel has demolished them out of spite and revenge. No other reason.
Well, they say it's out of self-defense, the actions that they are, engaged in at the moment. And I'm going to stand corrected and thank you for making the point. The UK did abstain in that Friday UNGA vote on a immediate, sustained and durable ceasefire. There is another opportunity, as I pointed out, possibly on Monday at an Emergency Security Council meeting when there will be a text, I know in draft at present, a text presented which in principle, as we understand it, will call for a humanitarian pause. Let's see how the UK respond at that meeting. They will certainly hear the words of Martin Griffiths, who is the head of OCHA, and the words of Philip Lazzarini, Philip Lazzarini is the head of the UNRWA organisation, the UN's organisation on the ground, which has lost many, many colleagues in Palestine and is really struggling to provide the sort of support that Gazans need at present. It's good to have you, sir. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Look, we came to Doha